Land has always been life for the Filipino people. For centuries, farmers have tilled the soil, planting crops not only for food but for survival. But behind the beauty of vast rice fields lies a long history of inequality and struggle. During the Spanish era from 1565 to 1898, land ownership changed dramatically. Through the encomienda and hacienda systems, vast lands were granted to Spanish officials, friars, and wealthy families. Filipino farmers became tenants on lands they once freely cultivated. Many paid high rents and taxes, while others were forced into pola y servicio, or labor. When the Americans took control in 1898, they promised reforms. Laws such as the Philippine Bill of 1902 aimed to redistribute friar lands. However, much of the land was sold to wealthy Filipinos instead of poor farmers. The tenancy system continued and many farmers remained in debt. During the Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945, farmers faced even greater hardship. Crops were confiscated to support the Japanese military. Food shortages, forced labor, and violence became part of daily life. However, peasants groups and guerrilla movements also emerged, fighting not only for freedom from foreign rule but also for land rights. From the Spanish era to the Japanese occupation, agrarian reform in the Philippines remained a long and unfinished struggle. The history of agrarian reform is not just about land, it is about justice, equality, and the dignity of every Filipino farmer. Because in the Philippines, land is more than soil. It is identity, it is survival, and it is freedom.
The Commonwealth era of the Philippines, 1935 to 1946, was a significant transitional period in the country's history. It served as a preparatory government established by the United States to guide the Philippines toward full independence. The period was created under the Tindings-McDuffie Act, Philippine Independence Act of 1934, which provided a 10-year transition before the granting of independence. The Commonwealth government was formally inaugurated on November 15, 1935, following and ratifications of 1935 Constitution. The Constitution established a presidential form of a government with three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The first president elected under the Commonwealth was Manuel L. Quezon, with Sergio Osmeña served as vice president. Their leadership focused on the preparing of nations of self-governance. One of the major priorities of Commonwealth government was the national defense. The National Defense Act of 1935, Commonwealth Act No. 1, was enacted to strengthen the country's military capability. A defense plan was developed with the assistance of General Douglas MacArthur, who served as a military advisory to Commonwealth government. Economic development was another focus during this era. The government implemented programs to promote agriculture growth, improve trade, and reduce dependency on the United States. Social justice programs were introduced to address land reform and labor issues. President Quezon also advocated for social justice as the way to reduce inequality and prevent social unrest. The Commonwealth government also made significant progress in education and language development. The 1935 Constitution declared that the government would promote the development of national language. In 1937, Tagalog was selected as the basis of national language. Education reform were implemented to promote literacy and prepare citizens for democratic participations. However, the process of Commonwealth was interrupted by World War II. On December 8, 1941, Japanese forces invaded the Philippines. Shortly after the attack of Pearl Harbor, the Commonwealth government went into exile in the United States during the Japanese occupation. 1942 to 1945. A different government was established under Japanese control. Despite this, the Commonwealth government in exile continued to represent the Philippines internationally. In 1944, General Douglas MacArthur returned to the Philippines and fulfilled his promise. I shall return. The liberations of country began, and by 1945, the Philippines was free from Japanese control. Finally, on July 4, 1946, the United States formally granted independence to the Philippines, marking the end of the Commonwealth era and the beginning of the Third Philippine Republic under President Manuel Rojas. In conclusion, the Commonwealth era was a crucial period in the Philippine history. It laid the foundations of independence by strengthening democracy institutions, promoting national identity, and preparing the country for self-rule. Despite these interruptions caused by World War II, the Commonwealth government successfully guided the Philippines toward become a sovereign nation.
Good day. I will discuss the Third Philippine Republic from 1946 to 1972 and the Fourth Philippine Republic from 1972 to 1986, two important periods that shaped modern Philippine democracy. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines gained independence from the United States, starting the Third Philippine Republic. The first president was Manuel Rojas. After World War II, the country was devastated. Manila was heavily destroyed. The economic was weak and the government focused on rebuilding. To recover, the Philippines accepted U.S. aid through the Bell Trade Act, allowing free trade but giving Americans equal rights to Philippine resources. While it helped reconstruction, it also limited economic independence. The government faced the Hukbalaha Rebellion, caused by land inequality and farmer dissatisfaction. President Ramon Magsaysay reduced the rebellion by improving military discipline and supporting rural communities. Other leaders included Elpidio Quirino, Carlos P. Garcia, and Diosdado Macapagal. Garcia promoted the Filipino First policy, while Macapagal moved Independence Day to June 12. Despite reforms, corruption, poverty, and inequality remained. In 1965, Ferdinand Marcos became president. His first term focused on infrastructure, but his second term faced inflation, debt, and massive protests like the first quarter storm. On September 21, 1972, Marcos declared martial law, ending the Third Republic. In 1973, a new constitution established the Fourth Republic. Although it created a parliamentary system, Marcos retained most of the power and ruled by decree. During martial law, Congress was closed, media was censored, and many critics were arrested. While infrastructure projects were built, foreign debt increased, and human rights violations were reported. One major opposition leader was Benigno Aquino Jr. After years of imprisonment and exile, he was assassinated on August 21, 1983. His death intensified public anger against Marcos' government. In 1986, Marcos called a snap election against Corazon Aquino. Allegations of cheating sparked the People Power Revolution along EDSA. On February 25, 1986, Marcos left the country and democracy was restored, ending the Fourth Republic. The Third Republic focused on rebuilding and democracy after World War II, but struggled with economic and political challenges. The Fourth Republic was marked by authoritarian rule, yet it ended through peaceful protests and the restoration of democracy.
Good day everyone, I am Junbert Yanib and today I will discuss the Fifth Republic of the Philippines, which began in 1987 and continues up to the present. The Fifth Republic was established after the historic People Power Revolution, which ended in 20-year rule of Ferdinand Marcos. This period presents the restoration of democracy, constitutional government, and civil liberties in the Philippines. Historical background: after the fall of the Marcos regime in 1986, Corazon Aquino became the president. In 1987, a new constitution was ratified. The 1987 constitution strengthened the democratic institution by limiting the presidential terms, restoring Congress, strengthening human rights protections, ensuring separation of powers. The Fifth Republic therefore considered the era of democratic restoration. Presidents of the Fifth Republic. Number 1. Corazon Aquino. Corazon Aquino presidency focused on rebuilding democracy after dictatorship. Achievements: restored democratic institution, implemented the 1987 Constitution, reopened the Congress, freed the political prisoners. Issues and challenges: faced multiple coup attempts from military groups, struggled with economically instability. Hacienda Lucienta land reform controversy. Her leadership symbolizes democracy, but it also showed how fragile democracy can be after the authoritarian rule. Fidel V. Ramos, 1992 to 1998. Fidel focused on economic reforms and national stability. Achievements: improved the Philippine economy, resolved the power crisis, and signed peace agreement with Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF. Issues criticized for pushing charter change or cha-cha. Privatization policies were controversial. His term is often remembered as a period of economic growth and modernization. Joseph Estrada, 1998 to 2001. Estrada was popular among these masses. Achievements focused on pro-poor programs, launched all-out war against the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or MILF. Major issues accused of corruption and plunder, impeachment trial in 2000, and removed from office through EDSA II. His presidency showed how public trust can quickly collapse due to corruption and allegation. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2001 and 2010. Arroyo assumed office after EDSA II. Achievements: strong economic growth, increased GDP, infrastructures projects. Controversies: Hello Garcia election scandal, accusation of electoral fraud, corruption allegation. Her administration was economically strong but politically controversial. Benigno Aquino III, 2010 and 2016. Aquino III promoted transparency and anti-corruption. Achievements: the Ang Matuwid Straight Path campaign, economic growth and credit rating upgrades, field aviation case against China in the West Philippine Sea, issues, Mama Sapano incident, SA 44, criticism over slow disaster response during Typhoon Yolanda. His presidency focused on clean government but faced security and crisis management challenges. Rodrigo Duterte, 2016 to 2022. Duterte introduced strong and controversial policies, achievements, build good infrastructure program, tax reform, and for acceleration and inclusion train law. Major controversies: war on drugs campaign, thousands of deaths linked into anti-drug operations, International Criminal Court investigation. His presidency raised debates about human rights, law enforcement, and execution power. Ferdinand Marcos Jr., 2002 and until present. The son of former President Ferdinand Marcos, focused economic recovery after COVID-19, agricultural reform, foreign policy balancing between major powers, issues, historical revisionism debates, rising inflation, and political polarization. His presidency reflects on how history continues to influence modern politics. Conclusion: the Fifth Republic represents the Philippines' journey towards democratic stability after dictatorship. Each president faced different challenges: corruption, economic crisis, security threats, and human rights concerns. Through studying this period, we understand that Philippine history is not just about past events, it's about ongoing struggles for democracy, justice, national development, and that's all. Thank you.
In every nation, progress does not happen by chance. Roads are built, schools are opened, hospitals save lives, but behind all these public services lies one purpose system: taxation. Every day, Filipinos go to work, run businesses, and earn a living. But beyond every paycheck and every transaction, there is a system that helps keep the nation running. Taxation is the act of imposing taxes by the government to generate income and defray public expenses. It is the government's primary source of funds used to provide services and programs that benefit the Filipino citizens. Taxes support education, healthcare, infrastructure, public safety, and social welfare programs. In the Philippines, the collection of national taxes is administered by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or the BIR. A tax is a mandatory contribution. However, it follows an important principle. Taxation must be proportionate to citizens' ability to pay. Taxes may be imposed on persons, property, business transactions, privileges, and benefits. In the Philippines, taxes are classified into two types: national taxes and local taxes. National taxes are paid to the national government and are based on the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, also known as Republic Act Number 8424. Let us explore the major types of national taxes. Capital Gains Tax. Capital gains tax is a tax imposed on gains realized from the sales, exchange, or other disposition of capital assets located in the Philippines. For example, when a person sells land or property and earns a profit from it, that profit may be subject to capital gain tax. This also includes conditional sales, such as back to direct sales, which means a sale with a condition to repurchase. Documentary stamp tax. Documentary stamp tax is a tax on documents, instruments, loan agreements, and other papers that shows the transfer or acceptance of rights, obligations, and property. Example includes bank promissory notes, deeds of sale, deeds of assignment, transfer of corporate shares. It is imposed because these documents represent legal transactions. Donor's tax. Donor's tax is a tax on donations or gifts. It applies to the gratuitous transfer of property between two or more persons who are alive at the time of transfer. It does not matter whether the gift is direct or indirect, the property is real or personal, the property is tangible or intangible, the transfer is in trust or not. Donor's tax is based on a graduated tax rate schedule. Estate tax. Estate tax is a tax imposed the privilege of transmitting property upon the death of a person. It is not a tax on the property itself, but on the right to transfer property to the heirs and beneficiaries. The estate tax is based on the law in force at the time of death, even if the heirs receive the property later. Like donor's tax, estate tax is also based on a graduated tax rate schedule. Income tax. Income tax is a tax on annual profits or earning from employment, businesses, profession, and property ownership. Self-employed individuals and corporations pay quarterly income taxes during the first 3 quarters of the year. Instead of filing for the fourth quarter, they file an annual income tax return for the entire taxable year. Individual income tax follows a graduated rate, while corporate income tax follows a fixed rate prescribed by law.
Percentage tax in the Philippines is paid by the small businesses or individuals who do not register for VAT and whose annual sales are 3 million or less. This tax applies to small sari-sari stores, small shops, tricycles or jeepney operators, and many more. And they have to pay this tax every 3 months. We also what we have called 3% and 8% tax. So the owner or anyone who is in charge is free to choose if the person will pay 3% tax or 8% tax as long as their income does not exceed to 3 million pesos. Value-added tax is a 12% consumption tax added to the price of goods. This means that for almost everything you buy, 12% of the price goes to the government. Businesses with annual gross sales exceeding 3 millions are required to register for this. VAT components, we have input and output VAT. Input VAT is the tax you pay when buying raw materials. Output VAT, this is the tax you add when selling your product. And now we have the types of rates in VAT. So we have the standard rate. So this is the normal VAT rate. So this include cookies in a bakery, electronics, clothing, and meals and taxi rides. So any regular commercial transaction sold locally is usually under the standard VAT, which is the 12%. Second is we have the zero rated VAT. So this applies to products that are still under VAT law, but the rate is 0%. So example of this are exported cookies, exported electronics, certain agricultural products, and exported medicine. So we have the last one, which is exempt VAT. So these items are completely not subject to VAT. So businesses cannot claim input VAT. So for example of this is school tuition, medical health services, sale of agricultural land, and many more. So these are essential services where charging VAT would make them more expensive. And now we have the excise tax. So excise tax is for certain items only. For example, cigarettes, alcohol, gasoline, and vehicles. So the government uses excise tax not only to raise money, but also to discourage harmful products or activities. As we all know, higher taxes on cigarettes make them more expensive, which may reduce smoking, and gasoline taxes can reduce pollution by discouraging excessive use. Types of excise tax. So we have specific tax, which means you pay a set of tax no matter the price. So a 30 pesos excise tax per pack of cigarettes, regardless if the pack is cheap or expensive. Now we have the ad valorem tax. So this means that the more expensive the item, the higher the tax. As of January 2018, withholding tax uses the train law tables which apply 0% tax on the first 250 annual income, but anything above 250 is taxed progressively. So the more you earn, the higher the percentage you pay. Withholding tax on compensation. So this means employers deduct tax from employees' salaries and send it to the government. This also means it applies to most employees except minimum wage earners. Low income earners pay less or no tax, while higher earners pay more. So this is calculated using progressive tax rates with an adjustment at the end of each year. So to put it simply, withholding tax on compensation is the tax deducted from an employee's salary. So this tax applies to businesses or professional payments, not salaries. So for example, if a company pays rent, hires a freelancer, or pays a contractor, they withhold a small tax before giving the full payment. So in this scenario, a company hires a freelance photographer. So the payment 15,000 pesos. Expended withholding tax is 1,500. So the photographer receives 13,500 as the company sends the 1,500 to the BAR.
Final withholding tax is a tax that is already deducted from the income before it is received by the taxpayer. Once this tax is withheld, the income is no longer included in the annual income tax return. For example, when a person earns interest from a bank deposit, the bank automatically deducts the tax before giving the interest to the depositor. This type of tax is considered final because the tax obligation ends once the income is received. Withholding tax is a tax deducted as an advance payment of income tax. Unlike final withholding tax,
This tax can be credited to the taxpayer's annual income tax. For example, when a company pays a professional or freelancer, a portion of the payment is withheld as tax. This system helps the government collect taxes regularly while allowing taxpayers to offset their tax due at the end of the year. Tax on transfer of real property ownership. This tax is imposed when ownership of real property such as land or buildings is transferred through sale, donation, or exchange. For example, when a house and lot is sold, the seller must pay this tax before the title can be transferred to the buyer. Without paying this tax, the ownership transfer cannot be legally complete. Tax on businesses of printing and publication. This tax applies to businesses engaged in printing and publishing materials such as books, newspapers, and magazines. For example, a printing company that produces textbooks for schools is required to pay this tax. This ensures that printing and publishing businesses properly contribute to the government revenue. Franchise tax. Franchise tax is imposed on businesses that operate under a franchise granted by the government. For example, broadcasting companies operating under a franchise are required to pay franchise tax based on their gross receipts. This tax represents the cost of enjoying special privileges granted by the government.
Fees for sealing and licensing of weights and measures. This is a fee paid by businesses that use measuring tools such as weighing scales, meters, or measuring containers. The local government checks these tools to make sure they give correct and accurate measurements. Once checked, the tools are sealed and licensed. This tax exists to protect customers from being overcharged and to ensure fairness in buying and selling. Fishery rentals, fees, and charges. This refers to fees collected from individuals or groups who use public waters for fishing or fish farming. Public waters include rivers, seas, and other aquatic areas owned by the government. These fees are imposed to regulate fishing activities and to protect aquatic resources such as fish, oysters, and other marine life. It also helps prevent overfishing and misuse of fishing areas. Community tax. Community tax is a basic tax paid by individuals who are earning income, owning property, or engaged in businesses. This tax applies to both Filipino citizens and foreigners who live or work in the Philippines. Paying community tax shows that a person is contributing to the community and supporting local government services and programs. Taxes on stores or retailers in the barangay. This tax is imposed on small stores and retailers operating within the barangay. The amount of tax is based on their sales and is usually small to avoid burdening small business owners. The purpose of this tax is to help barangay raise funds for local projects, maintenance, and basic services for residents. Service fees or charges. Service fees or charges are collected by the barangay for specific services they provide to the public. These services may include the use of barangay facilities or equipment related to local products like palay, copra, or tobacco dryers. The fees helps recover maintenance costs and ensure that these services remain available and functional for community members.